Good afternoon, everyone. So we're gonna have a little bit of story time in the shop. And I was working today, I was bringing that truck in on the rack, and it just made me think of this story, so I wanted to stop and share it with you guys. So here we go. Beginning stages of my automotive career. Sales department of a Ford dealership, the Ford store, right in the next town over. Running around detailing cars, bringing cars to the DMV, just, whatever they needed me to do. I did it during the summer full time, and I did it after school every day of the week. So come time I'm graduating out of technical, go to school for being a mechanic. I went for machine tool, and in that shop I had a classmate. Classmate and I were getting ready to graduate out of high school, and I had been offered from the service manager at the Ford dealership, who had kind of got to know me as I was working there and liked me and saw that I had different cars and I was kind of into cars. Hey, you're getting out of high school, you're into cars, you got some technical background, what do you think about working in the shop? And I was all for it. I wanted to learn how to work on cars more. I had grown up around it. My father built cars and restored cars, and I learned a lot from him, but I never really learned as much as I would have liked. I was into my own stuff. I was into dirt bikes and whatnot. So this opportunity to work in the dealership was like huge to me. So I was like, yeah, I want to do it. So we go graduate high school. I'm talking 3 days after graduation. I'm there at the dealership, starting my first day, nervous as hell. So I'm hanging around, waiting for the morning to start, really don't know any routine, don't really know what to do. One of the lead guys comes up to me and says, hey, you're gonna be on my team. We have, we have this many techs, and you're gonna be one of my techs. Okay, cool. So I'm standing there, and I hear a super familiar voice come behind me. Hey, Chris, what's going on? I turn around, and it's my buddy, my classmate, right? And I was totally shocked for multiple reasons. One is, in high school, I was with the gearheads. We all sat at the same table at lunch. We all just talked about cars. That's really all we were interested in. He was not part of that group. He was liked, but he wasn't in that group because he wasn't really into cars. I never saw him with any different cars. I don't even think he drove to high school. I'm pretty sure I know he had his license. Pretty sure he didn't even have a car, and he wasn't really known as a gearhead. And the fact is, he had gotten hired to be a mechanic's apprentice, and I didn't even know. We were in the same shop and a lot of the same classes, and we were pretty close, still are. So it's just odd. Turn around, there he is. He's like, oh man, I'm working here with you. This is gonna be great. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, cool. I know you. Familiar face, make me feel a little bit more comfortable. So I'm taking to it okay. No major issues. I'm learning every day, getting a little bit more comfortable. He, on the other hand, not really getting there. He's not really getting comfortable. You could see he's having issues with things. And I'm just going to say this to anybody who's listening that's new to any trade. I think, honestly, to be good in a trade, you got to be somewhat naturally inclined to that trade. And sometimes it takes different things. You got to try different things, and then you'll find what fits. And he just wasn't fitting. He was like square peg, round hole kind of situation. And so as those weeks went on, it came out that he did not know how to drive standard. And as another thing I'm going to point out, if you want to be in this car business, know how to drive standard. Be aware of it. Be aware how it works. I'm not saying that you got to drive it every single day and be like an expert, but you got to at least know how to drive it. I would never hire anybody that did not know how to drive standard. And after this story, you'll see why. So he gets a first service. First services on cars that were sold at the dealership were free. So a gentleman comes in with this brand new black 2001 F-150. It was a sport model, short bed, 4-wheel drive, V6, 4.2 liter, stick shift. So truck comes in, everybody's busy. Manager goes to my classmate, hey, can you bring this in, do an oil change on it quick? Oh, I don't know how to drive standard. Manager's like, okay, I'll get someone to drive it in for you. Which my manager was probably the best boss. That manager was the best boss I ever had, but he made I think a crucial mistake, because once my classmate said I didn't know how to drive standard, he should have just given the job to somebody else, but he needed to get the car in and out. Classmate was available. He goes, I'll get someone to drive it in. Just do the service on it. I'll get someone else to drive it out. Classmate gets it, does the service, does his thing. He brings the car down to finish up, put oil in it, put a sticker in it, and get it off. Now, the first mistake that my classmate made is when he brought the 4-post lift down. It was a drive-on lift just like the one behind me here. He didn't bring it down all the way. It was like 2 feet up in the air, which I don't know why he did that, but that's what he did. Then, instead of getting in the truck, which was like a second mistake, instead of getting inside the vehicle, he decided to start it from the outside with just like the door open and lean in. And I believe he tried to start it without doing anything and then used his hand to push in the clutch. You gotta take my hand off the clutch. Well, what do you think happens when he did that? Because when the tech brought it in for him, he just left it in first gear on the lift. So classmate takes his hand off the clutch, it's in first gear. What does it do? Man, like the Dukes of Hazzard, right off the front of that truck lift. And those stoppers you can see on the front of my lift, they're like little ramps. So it just basically catapulted this thing right into the brick wall that was about 3 feet in front of it. Smashed the whole front of the truck, something awful. It was done. Complete body shop job. There was no buffing that out. Smashed the airline going through the shop. It was a steel airline. It blew all scaly, nasty, just rusty, crappy water all over the front of the truck. So the truck got smashed, brand new, just got totally demolished, and then on top of it just gets a rusty shower of crap water all over it. Meanwhile, the customer, who was a waiter waiting in the fishbowl, as we call it, or the waiting room, the big glass room at the end of the dealership where everybody can look out and see what you're doing, he saw the whole show. He got the bird's eye view, man. Saw his truck just bam, right off the front of the lift, right into the wall. Everybody comes out into the shop, and there's Mike running around like he was on fire. He literally looked like he was on fire. He's just running around, he's grabbing his head, he doesn't know what to do. Another guy runs over because, I mean, the truck is still running. Even though it smashed into the wall, the tires are like spinning. They're not going fast, but they're spinning. Guy runs over, shuts the truck off. Customer comes out, manager, everybody comes out. Work stops. They finally get the compressor shut off. That thing was just blowing air out. You couldn't even hear yourself talk. It was so loud. They get that shut off. Obviously, the customer got put into a loaner promptly and got sent on his way. And I think he got the sun, moon, and the stars after that as far as going to the dealership. It was like red carpet treatment for that guy. Anytime he came to the dealership after that, he got whatever he wanted. And he wasn't demanding. He actually took it really well. He was pretty understanding, but they gave him everything for that one. And my classmate goes and has a talk with the manager, and that wasn't the end of him working there, but it was pretty much the beginning of the end, because after that, his work just got stepped down to the most menial, basic tasks that weren't even car related at that point. Stack these tires here, put that away there, clean that up over here, shovel this out there, go out to the lot, do this, do that, because they couldn't really trust him. He had made some other mistakes that were small, but in the short amount of time that he worked, the little mistakes added up, and then this big mistake, it's funny. I laugh about it now. I laugh when I tell the story, but people walked in front of that truck lift all the time, and it was just luck that no one was walking in front of it, that someone wasn't in front of it. No questions asked the way that truck came off the lift, and if someone would have gotten hit, it would have been instant. It would have been, that's it, done, lights out. So it's funny now, but it just goes back to what I said in the beginning. If you don't know, ask. Be aware. If you want to be in this business, don't be afraid to ask questions. Sometimes you got to, put your ego down, eat a little bit of humble pie, as they say, and just ask the question. Because if you don't know and you don't ask, and then something like this happens, it's your fault. If you don't ask and you don't know, and then you cause something like that, it's your fault. If someone would have gotten hurt or killed that day, that my poor classmate would have had to live with that. And thank God that didn't happen, but it can happen, and it probably has happened. There's videos on YouTube. You can see cars falling off of lifts, that kind of stuff. Any of those videos you guys watch, I would almost guarantee 9 out of 10 is because someone didn't know and they didn't ask and they weren't sure. So just want to throw that out there. It was something I was thinking about today. It was on my mind. I figured I'd shoot the video. If you guys like the story, throw it in the comment. Make it like a regular thing. I'll get out and I'll tell a story and, try to give a little bit of a moral story behind the story, because a lot of times it's just looking at the big picture, see what happened, how did it happen? And this just happened because my classmate just didn't ask and wasn't sure. And I just wanted to pass that on to you guys. So, comment, like, subscribe, please. All your feedback is greatly appreciated. And thank you. I'll get back with you guys soon.